Good morning again from Cascade Homestead. Today we're in my greenhouse, and for those of you who want to know how I built this greenhouse, I'm going to be doing a greenhouse tour probably next week to show you how I made it, how much it cost, and give you kind of look around inside. But for today, I'm going to be transplanting some of my specialty tomatoes. The first one I'm going to be transplanting is a orange hat tomato. This is a Determinate tomato. This tomato only grows to about 9 inches tall, but the 9-inch tomato plant produces a prolific amount of tomatoes, a real lot of orange tomatoes. So I'm going to be transplanting that tomato today. And then I'm also going to be transplanting a really cool one that I found at Trade Winds Fruit, and it's called the Dancing with Smurfs tomato. The Dancing with Smurfs tomato. I found this at Trade Winds Fruit, and it is a blue cherry tomato. And so I was looking for a blue one, and unfortunately, by the time I decided to go shopping for blue cherry tomatoes, a lot of the places that had these color cherry tomatoes were already sold out. But lucky I was able to go to Trade Winds Fruit, and I was able to find blue tomatoes, Dancing with Smurfs tomatoes. So I'll be transplanting those tomatoes as well. And the Dancing with Smurfs one is not a Determinate tomato. It is a normal size cherry tomato, Indeterminate. So I'm going to transplant it to a bigger pot in the greenhouse so it can get bigger, because they're very little seedlings right now. But the orange hat tomato, the Determinate one, I'm going to be transplanting it into its permanent location, which will be a 6-inch pot, and that's what the recommended Baker Creek heirloom seed package recommended, is about a 6-inch pot. So I'm going to be transplanting that into a 6-inch pot, and I will show you guys how I do that. So I'm going to be transplanting the orange hat tomato, and that's these right here. These seedlings are probably about 2 weeks old, maybe. So you can tell that they're really a very small tomato plant. So I use a fork. I find a fork is actually one of the easiest tools, because you can slide it right down and then pop this whole thing up from the bottom. And then you're going to want to break some of this off that's not needed here. And once you got your tomato plant, you're going to come over here. And this blue pot here, this is what my the permanent location for my orange hat tomato will be. And this is a 6-inch pot, and inside the 6-inch pot is a really dark black topsoil with homemade compost in it from chicken bedding and grass. So I'm going to dig a little hole about 2, maybe 3 inches deep. Depends on the root cluster, how big the root cluster is. And then you're going to pack the dirt in around it. And as you can see, you don't really need to pack in deep around the stem like you do with Indeterminates. Indeterminates usually have a really long stem before you get to the first set of leaves. The stem on these guys is only about this long, so you really don't have to pack it up around the stem. And you can see here, that is my Determinate 9-inch tomato plant. And if you look, I've actually got a whole bunch of them right here. You can see. I've actually got 8 of those Determinate tomatoes. Once they grow about another week in my greenhouse, I'm going to harden them off and start moving them outside. Our daytime highs are around 70, and our overnight lows are around upper 40s, low 50s. So I think they're about ready to go outside. So I'm pretty happy about that. And I'll give you a close-up look here. These are my Determinate orange hat tomatoes. Now we're going to be transplanting my Dancing with Smurfs blue cherry tomato. And this one I'm really looking forward to, because I've heard that these ones are really sweet and that they have a lot of really good vitamins and antioxidants in them. So I'm really looking forward to that one. So with the Dancing with the Smurfs tomato, I'm going to be transplanting them into the same topsoil homemade compost mixture I made. Earlier in the season, when it was still quite chilly outside, I was transplanting my tomatoes into a seed starting mix. But now that it's warm out and I'm going to be moving them out fairly early compared to what the other ones I moved out, I'm going to be transplanting them into the soil that I'm going to be using out in my gardens. So I'm just saving this soil for when I make my seeds in my little containers. So again, I'm going to use my fork, easiest tool I find to use to get the tomatoes out of these containers. So I'm going to do this big one in the middle first. Just as you can see, it just popped straight out. The block and everything just came straight out, and you can see the roots hanging down here. So then what you're going to do is you're going to want to pull some of this soil out. Go down about halfway down the cup, and then you're going to place this right there like that. And when you're going to want to take your extra soil, and you're going to want to put your extra soil up against the base of the stem, just like that. Once the baby tomatoes get about this size here, I do something I don't know if a lot of people do, but I always pick off these the cotyledon leaves at the base of the stem. I don't really find any use for them anymore. So now a lot of people will go all the way up the stem to here. I like to leave a little bit of stem for some growth. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use one of these other cups to transfer a little bit of soil. And then once I get about there, I'm going to move in over here to the next one. And again, just pop it up, make sure to try not to damage the roots at all. And before I put the soil on, I'm going to pop off these little cotyledon leaves. And then you just you pack it down, not super tight, but you pack it down. And then that's my second one. And then you just kind of keep the process going until you have all of them planted. Now once you have all of them planted, these 8 here are my orange hat tomatoes, my Determinate tomatoes, and these 4 here are my Dancing with Smurfs Indeterminate tomatoes. Once you have all of them planted in their new pots, then you need to water them in to make sure that they do well in their new pot. Sometimes if the soil's a little loose when you water them, they might bounce around, so you just got to press the soil down. Now once you have added the water, you're going to notice sometimes your soil might go down a little bit. If that happens, you can always add a little bit more soil to your cup.